This is a news on Baktırson, and let's go through the main headline. The World Health Organization declares Ebola outbreak in the DRC as a public health emergency. US President Donald Trump warns the clock is ticking for Iran as peace progress stalls. And at least 4 people are killed in Russia as Ukraine launches retaliatory strikes. At least 87 people have died in the latest Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as the World Health Organization declares the crisis an international public health emergency. And neighboring Uganda steps up surveillance following imported cases linked to the virus.
Health authorities in Central Africa are intensifying efforts to contain a growing Ebola outbreak in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, as neighbouring Uganda steps up surveillance following imported cases linked to the virus. Emergency treatment centres are being prepared in DR Congo's Ituri province as the World Health Organization declared the Ebola outbreak an international public health emergency. Africa Centres for Disease Control and Prevention says at least 336 suspected and confirmed infections and 87 deaths have been recorded so far in the country's 17th Ebola outbreak since 1976. Health teams are working in Bunia, Rwampara and Mongwalu to isolate patients and trace contacts in a region already struggling with insecurity and limited healthcare access. DR Congo's health minister urged residents to seek medical help quickly.
The sooner we take the patient in for care, the sooner we treat them, the sooner we will stop the movement, what we call the spread of the virus. So this is not a mystical disease. Make yourself known. Make yourself known so that you can be taken care of and so that we can prevent the disease from spreading. That is really the message. Treatment is free. Come and get treated.
Regional concern has also spread into Uganda, where authorities confirmed a fatal imported case involving a Congolese man who had travelled to Kampala. The World Health Organization warns that cross-border movement and weak surveillance systems could complicate containment efforts. Some residents fear the outbreak could disrupt travel and daily life, while others called for stronger awareness campaigns and preventive measures.
It creates a challenge with the travel element because then Uganda lies at a risk of facing a travel ban, and for a person like me who is engaged in travels here and there, if we are put on a travel ban, very many things in the background get disorganized, and it is not good for the country as a whole. I would like the government to, one, quickly spread awareness about Ebola and how it is spread, to break down this information even for the layest of people to understand, but also start to institute measures to avoid the spread of Ebola in Kampala and Uganda as a whole, so that there is a feeling of safeness, of security against this disease of Ebola.
Someone who works in Kampala, I didn't receive well the news of Ebola outbreak in Uganda because I work in an environment where I meet many people every day. So it puts me on a high risk of getting also Ebola.
Health authorities across the region say surveillance, contact tracing and public awareness efforts are now being intensified as officials work to prevent the outbreak from spreading further beyond eastern DR Congo and Uganda.
US President Donald Trump is ramping up pressure on Iran after a drone strike sparked a fire at a nuclear plant in the United Arab Emirates. The latest tensions came as reported peace proposals between Washington and Tehran appear increasingly strained.
Regime's conventional ballistic missile.
US President Donald Trump has issued a new warning to Iran, saying in a Truth Social post that the clock is ticking and urging Iranian leaders to get moving fast. The post came after a drone strike caused a fire at the Barakah nuclear power plant in the United Arab Emirates.
Officials in Abu Dhabi say an investigation is underway and stressed the UAE has the right to respond to what it called terrorist attacks. Saudi Arabia also says it intercepted 3 drones entering from Iraqi airspace and warned it would take necessary operational measures to protect its sovereignty and security. The developments come as progress appears stalled in efforts to end the US-Israeli war with Iran and restart shipping in the Gulf. Axios also reports Trump is expected to meet top national security advisors on Tuesday to discuss options for military action regarding Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's semi-official Fars news agency reports that the United States has outlined 5 conditions in response to Tehran's latest peace proposal, citing an informed source. According to the report, the conditions include refusing to pay compensation or war damages, Iran transferring 400 kilograms of enriched uranium to the United States, and Iran being allowed to keep only 1 nuclear facility operational. The report also says Washington rejected unfreezing Iranian assets, while ceasefires on various fronts would be conditional on the start of negotiations. Fars adds that Iran has demanded an end to hostilities, the lifting of sanctions, compensation for war damage, and recognition of its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz as conditions for a second round of talks. There has been no official response from either Iran or the United States regarding the report.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Donald Trump spoke on Sunday about developments involving Iran. Israeli media said the leaders discussed the possibility of renewed conflict with Iran, along with ongoing regional tensions. After the call, Donald Trump warned that Iran should move quickly in negotiations, saying, quote, time is of the essence, while also suggesting he believes a deal is still possible. The talks come as diplomatic efforts continue with no announcements of decisions on timelines for any military action. Russia has responded to one of Ukraine's largest drone attacks on Moscow with overnight missile and drone strikes targeting several regions across Ukraine. The latest escalation comes after Russian officials described the Ukrainian barrage as one of the biggest aerial attacks on the capital since the start of the war.
Russia launched overnight drone and missile strikes on Ukraine, targeting the southern city of Odessa and the southeastern city of Dnipro, Ukrainian officials said Monday. Authorities reported at least 12 people were injured in attacks across central and southern regions of the country. In Odessa, a major Black Sea export port, drones struck residential buildings as well as a school and kindergarten. Regional officials said an 11-year-old boy and a 59-year-old man were injured. In Dnipro, Regional Governor Alexander Hanja said at least 9 people were wounded in the attacks. The latest Russian strikes come after Ukraine carried out one of its largest attacks on the Moscow region since the start of the war more than 4 years ago. Russian authorities said at least 4 people were killed. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the large-scale drone operation was a response to continued Russian attacks on Ukraine.
The Russians need to think about their refineries, their oil facilities, their enterprises, and not about how to disrupt the lives of other peoples in Ukraine, Moldova, or any other neighboring country. Today, the activity indicators show that our proactive operations per day are higher than those of the Russians, and this is a very serious result. We will increase all forms of supply for our army, drones, ground robots, shells, all resources to maintain proper protection and our active frontline operations.
Russian officials claimed more than 1,000 Ukrainian drones were intercepted over the past 24 hours. Russia's defense ministry said it intercepted 556 drones overnight and into Sunday morning, with another 30 drones shot down after dawn. According to the ministry, the interceptions took place across 14 Russian regions, as well as annexed Crimea and over the Black and Azov Seas, marking one of the largest Ukrainian aerial assaults of the war so far.
At least 5 people, including 2 children, were killed and several others wounded in Israeli strikes, according to Lebanese health officials. Strikes hit multiple towns with reports of additional attacks and drone activity in other areas. Drones were also seen flying over Beirut and surrounding areas. The strikes came despite the ceasefire extension aimed at reducing tensions along the border. A first case of the deadly hantavirus has been confirmed in Canada on Sunday. The person who tested positive was aboard the international cruise ship that had an outbreak. The Canadian patient is the 10th confirmed case linked to the ship. According to Canada's National Health Agency, another passenger tested negative, while 2 others remain under medical observation. However, Canadian health authorities said the risk to general public remains very low, as well as confirmed cases are linked to the cruise ship, and there is no evidence of community spread. Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsen Naqvi met Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Parliament Speaker in Tehran during a 2-day visit focused on regional dialogue and peace efforts. The meetings came after Pakistani mediated talks between Iran and the United States were suspended last week, following disagreements over recent proposals. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi earlier said the mediation process had not failed, but described it as being in difficulty due to what he called contradictory messages from Washington. Iran and Pakistan reviewed bilateral ties and latest developments in the Iran-US-styled peace negotiations mediated by Islamabad, while Tehran and Washington have refused to give tangible concessions amid a shaky ceasefire. Our correspondent brings more from Tehran.
Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsen Reza Naqvi visited Tehran over the weekend, during which he met his counterpart, as well as President Masoud Pezeshkian and Parliamentary Speaker and top negotiator with the U.S., Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. According to official sources, the two sides discussed security cooperation to promote cross-border trade, as well as the latest regional developments, including the blocked Iran-US peace talks mediated by Pakistan. President Pezeshkian praised neighboring Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iraq for preventing terrorists and invading countries from misusing their territory against Iran, and especially appreciated Pakistan for its mediation efforts resulting in a ceasefire. As the Iran-US standoff is escalating, while they have refused to provide the other side with noticeable concessions for a resumption of peace talks, diplomacy has been at work amid a fragile ceasefire. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi held phone calls with his counterparts from South Korea, Qatar, France, and Turkey over the weekend on bilateral ties and latest regional developments, including the current diplomatic processes. The calls were made after he returned from a visit to India to take part in the BRICS ministerial meeting last week. On the sidelines of the New Delhi meeting, Araghchi urged the U.S. to seek a solution to its dispute with Iran beyond the military option. And in a new sign of escalation, the state-owned IRIB TV has been broadcasting programs on weapon training, from light machine guns to portable RPG launchers. A senior official of the state broadcaster defended the programs, saying they serve the purpose of educating cultural and social responsibility as the country is still under threat of a renewed Israel-US war. Turaj Shiralilu, reporting from downtown Tehran, Foreign News.
The second day of the World Urban Forum in Baku began with an official opening press conference ahead of a week of high-level discussions. UN Habitat representatives and Azerbaijan's national coordinator for Wolf 13 outlined the forum's main priorities, including the global housing crisis, urban resilience, and sustainable urban development. Speakers also highlighted the significance of the event being held in the region for the first time.
This World Urban Forum, WUF 13, is the largest forum that has been ever convened by UN Habitat. We have over 41,000 participants from 182 countries, including heads of state, ministers, mayors, UN officials, and leaders from across government, business, academia, and civil society. UN Habitat works with governments and partners, supporting stronger policies, more effective institutions, and scalable solutions that deliver impact on the ground. However, despite growing global consensus, the gap between policy ambition and implementation remains wide. In this context, the World Urban Forum is a platform for action, bringing together a global coalition committed to advancing transformative urban change.
WUF 13 is very new for this region. This is first time in our part of the world, so this is already opportunity number one that we, together with many our neighbors and friends, are able to sit together and to discuss what our future of our cities will look like. And of course, there are a lot of interesting sessions, events, expertise around, which I believe all of us will benefit from.
An official opening ceremony with top officials from around the world marked the formal beginning of World Urban Forum 13, highlighting global attention to pressing urban development challenges. Here is more.
President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev and Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlements Programme, Anna Claudia Rosbach, welcomed the heads of state and government, as well as the heads of delegations participating in the opening session of WUF 13. Then, a cultural programme dedicated to urban development and the history of Azerbaijan's cities and regions was presented. President Ilham Aliyev delivered an opening speech and stated that Azerbaijan's location between East and West has long been reflected in its architecture, and that the country is proud of this heritage.
Since 2022, we, together with UN Habitat, held 3 national urban fora in Azerbaijan, in Agdam, Zengilan, and Hankendi, the cities which were under occupation for many years. And today, organizing the global gathering, we once again demonstrate our strong commitment to urban planning, urban development, to our agenda to make life of the people better and to provide our population with all necessary means in order to feel themselves comfortably.
United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres addressed the WUF 13 opening ceremony with a video message.
As Secretary-General, I'm proud that the Pact for the Future and the Doha Political Declaration recognize housing as a priority. And I welcome the upcoming 10-year review of the new urban agenda. Now is the time to put housing at the center of sustainable development by expanding access to housing that is adequate, safe and affordable, transforming informal settlements and slums, and addressing inequalities that inflame social tensions. Housing is a human right and fundamental for human dignity.
President of the UN Habitat Assembly, Nga Ko-ming, urged leaders to pay greater attention to urban issues.
I ask you today, when you look at your city maps, do not just look at roads and zones. See the faces. See the young entrepreneur in a slum who needs a legal address to start a business. See the families in the coastal cities at risk from rising sea levels. Let us commit to human-centered urbanism. Let us bridge the $5.4 trillion annual financing gap for climate-resilient infrastructure.
Executive Director of UN Habitat, Anna Claudia Rosbach, in her turn, also noted that housing is becoming a central policy priority across all regions.
The level of interest and participation in WOOF 13 has been truly exceptional. Never before has a forum of this nature brought together such a vast and diverse global audience, reflecting the growing recognition that housing and sustainable urban development are central to our collective future. So let us remind ourselves that collectively we are not starting from scratch.
Rosbach emphasized that WUF 13 is an opportunity to focus on solutions and ensure housing for all.
Panelists at the World Urban Forum 13 stressed the importance of international cooperation in building sustainable and inclusive cities. ANU's Nuray Mustafa had the opportunity to speak with some of them. Here is what they shared with ANU's.
It's a unique forum for doing partnerships within this agenda of urbanism that is of the highest priority for every country. We need stable cities. We need cities where people have all good connectivity with good infrastructure, because otherwise you can't build any stable and social good placed communities. So this is the global agenda, but for every country this is a challenge. So we expect that all sharing of our experiences will be here, and Slovakia is a country that has a lot of experiences to share with others.
As per now, there are more than 2.2 billion people still lack of access of safe drinking water, and 3.5 billion people lack of access of safely managed sanitation. And this is the challenges that we are facing. Plus, now more than 50% of people living in urban and cities, and by 2050, nearly 70% of the global population lives in the city. So if you combine that data, means again, whenever you plan something, then you have to integrate the water perspective in any policy in all level, from the government, central government, until the local government.
Also speaking exclusively to ANU's, the president of the United Nations Habitat Assembly said the biggest challenge is the lack of political will, stressing that real progress depends on implementing plans and turning promises into results.
The biggest challenge is that there's a lack of strong political will. It is always important that we can have a good plan. End of the day, it is actually the execution and implementation of the plan. So what has been achieved must be implemented, and we can create a measurable impact for all. Never forget that house is actually the home, and home is the heaven for many, a safe sanctuary for many. So let's do it together.
As part of the World Urban Forum 13, an African ministerial meeting will take place, bringing together African officials responsible for housing and urban development to discuss urbanization challenges across the continent, as well as solutions that African countries can share with one another. Our correspondent Ayten Shukurova spoke with several participants. Here is more.
It's an opportunity for our different countries to be able to go over the African Union Forum statement and to also share our vision individually in individual countries as far as the Vision 2063. Which is mostly being able to build focus on climate control, resilient homes, and making sure that a home is more of a dignified tool rather than just an asset for the future. One of the biggest assets of Mali is the land itself. So we are quite a big country with nearly 1.2 million square kilometers of land, And our goal is to be able to find financial partners which are going to help us in the development of affordable housing for all in Mali. So we have the know-how, we have the land itself, which is an asset. So it's being able to to give access to those affordable homes to our different citizens.
I'm working in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we are here with the Minister of Urban Development of this country. The main issues there are informal settlement, issue of mobility in the urban areas, and also the issue of infrastructure. On those issues, the discussion are going to be around financial, but also on technical issues, the development of the urban plans, because there is a lot of issue of land occupation and land planning. UN Habitat, as the host of this session, has a lot of expertise also to offer to countries on the technical aspects. We also have partners here like the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and also the private sector that can also collaborate with the countries to finance the issue of informal settlement, but also housing issues and also the planning sector.
The Urban Expo at the World Urban Forum has officially opened in Baku, bringing together governments, organizations and businesses focused on the future of cities. Our Nuray Mustafa has more.
World Urban Forum 13 Urban Expo, taking place at the Baku Olympic Stadium, brings together countries, cities and international organizations from around the world. The exhibition, officially opened today, showcases innovative solutions for sustainable and inclusive urban living. More than 20,000 visitors are expected to attend the event. The Urban Expo presents practical solutions to urban challenges related to housing, transport, energy, waste management and climate change. More than 200 organizations from 66 countries are participating in the exhibition. One of the key venues of the expo is the UN Habitat Pavilion, where visitors can explore various presentations and take part in interactive activities focused on urban life and housing issues. The Business and Innovation Hub features innovative technologies and solutions in urban planning and housing. The venue also includes a dedicated startup pavilion and hosts a range of discussions on urban development. The Urban Expo also hosts panel discussions and meetings throughout the program. One such discussion held at the pavilion of the South Enjai platform focused on water scarcity and the management of water resources. Speakers from Pakistan, Lebanon, Nigeria and Oman took part in the panel. Discussions centered on the protection and effective management of water resources and growing urbanization and climate change. The speakers also highlighted the importance of international cooperation in ensuring water security.
Now all of our members that are in Baku and not in Baku have a platform to raise their voices, raise their concerns about their communities and provide solutions to the problems that they have. So just now we had an event with member organizations from Lebanon, from Pakistan, from Oman and from other countries where they voiced their concerns, specifically in, for example, Kenya and Nigeria, where they talked about water scarcity and drought.
So forum like this sensitizes people, creates awareness so that we are able to work together. We don't need to go anywhere else to say, come and help me build my bridge. You build good bridges. You can do it for us much easier than to go and borrow money somewhere else to come and do it. So that's why I put a lot of emphasis in this platform, because it's also inclusive. It's people-centered, and it's very inclusive. And so that is what I put emphasis on.
Meanwhile, the Urban Library section presents the latest research and urban planning and housing policy, including the World Cities Report 2026. And at the Urban Cinema venue, visitors can watch short films exploring urbanization and city life. Nuray Mustafa, Natiq Mehmedov, Zöhrab Shirinov for A News.
36 countries just signed up to prosecute Russia for its war in Ukraine, but Georgia said no. Tbilisi says the EU's own inconsistent attitude is to blame. Our Nini Nikolashvili has more from Tbilisi.
On May 15th in Moldova's capital, a historic vote took shape. 34 Council of Europe member states plus Australia, Costa Rica and the European Union formally adopted the enlarged partial agreement to establish a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. The tribunal, designed to fill a gap the ICC cannot, prosecuting senior Russian political and military leaders for the decision to invade Ukraine, represents a new chapter in international accountability. But 10 Council of Europe members stayed out. That list includes EU members, Hungary, Slovakia, Bulgaria and Malta, 4 Balkan states, and from the South Caucasus, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia and Turkey. Armenia and Azerbaijan are presently pursuing their own peace agenda, with the actual agreement having already been initialed, yet Yerevan is still deeply connected with the Russia-dominated Eurasian Economic Union. Georgian Foreign Minister Makabocharishvili said that the attitude of some EU member states towards Georgia prevents Tbilisi from making decisions that could create additional risks. The government also points out that Georgia has joined roughly 1,000 international resolutions supporting Ukraine, framing the tribunal refusal not as a pro-Russia move, but as a response to what it sees as EU inconsistency. Critics at home call that reasoning hollow. A country under active occupation, they argue, cannot afford selective solidarity. Then there is Hungary. Even after its pro-European political earthquake this April, Budapest still did not join. The tribunal will move forward, but the map of who joined and who did not tells its own story about where Europe's fracture lines still run. Nini Nikolashvili, Tbilisi, A News.
Ukraine has proposed launching a new regional dialogue platform with Central Asia focused on trade, logistics and direct cooperation. Our correspondent Sevil Rajapova has more from Tashkent.
Ukraine is seeking to strengthen ties with Central Asia through a proposed Ukraine plus Central Asia dialogue platform focused on economic cooperation, transport connectivity and regional dialogue. In an interview with Times of Central Asia, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said that the initiative would focus on direct dialogue without intermediaries and would not be directed against any country. According to him, Kyiv sees growing strategic importance in Central Asia as the region expands its role in global transport, trade and energy networks. A key priority for Kyiv is participation in the Trans-Caspian International Transport Road, or Middle Corridor, linking China, Central Asia, the South Caucasus, the Black Sea and the European Union. Ukraine says its Black Sea ports could serve as an important western gateway for trade flows along the road. Kazakhstan was described as Ukraine's key regional partner. The minister noted that intergovernmental consultations and business dialogue between the two countries have resumed after a long pause, with growing Ukrainian business interests in agriculture, engineering, food processing and IT sectors. The foreign minister also highlighted humanitarian cooperation, saying Kazakhstan has provided around 600 tons of aid to Ukraine since the start of the war, and has hosted Ukrainian children for rehabilitation programs. Ukraine says it sees Central Asia as an increasingly important partner for long-term economic and regional cooperation. It is Sevil Rajab reported from Tashkent, Uzbekistan, A News.
This concludes our news update for the hour. Thank you for your time and stay with us.